your seat, and we'll shut the doors. We're going to start. All right, we will bring this, our second Natural Resource Committee meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin, Senator Embry, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Schickel, Senator Southworth, Senator Webb, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wheeler, Senator Turner, and Chair Smith.
Here, we have a quorum. Since we have a quorum, I need a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting. I have a motion, a second. All those in favor with the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. The motion carries. We've got our minutes approved. We have three things we're going to try to cover today and allow them enough time to do a good, thorough job for the presentation and the questions. So we're going to start off with Senator Rick Girdler. He's going to be discussing his Senate bill. So, Senator Girdler, if you want to come take the table, and then if you and your guest will introduce themselves for the record, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. I appreciate you allowing us to be able to present our bill to you today. I have to my right one of the biggest farmers in Pulaski County. His name is Joel Wilson. And if you live in Pulaski County, you know all about him because he's got the best strawberries in the whole world. So he's one of ours that supplies us with plenty of. About May, I start looking for Joel. So, and that's the reason for the bill is somebody like Joel, and he'll be able to share with you more than I will. But the bill is basically what we are asking. And I'm glad that you let me go before Senator Hornback, because Senator Hornback probably knows as much or more about this than I do, with him being the big farmer that he is. So I do appreciate that. And I did ask him, would you allow me to, if they ask a tough question, you'll answer it for me. So, and I want to apologize to Senator Turner and Senator Wheeler yesterday for economic development. Now, y'all forgive me? All right, good. Then we can proceed then. The bill basically is this. I learned from Joel about what he was having to entail with water bill. And I might add, Joel could have went about around this law basically because he's on the board at the Western Pulaski County Water District. And he knows all about the water side of it. And but his bill, just in June of last year for water, irrigation, 40 grand. They got a notice that they're probably going to go up somewhere in the near of 20%. So
Senator Girdler, what was his bill before? 40 grand is
that's for June. That was for 1 month.
And how much is it usually?
How much is
That's pretty normal in the summertime.
So 40 grand per month is as usual, so that wasn't extremely high?
No. And in his situation, if that bill goes to $50,000, I pay $15 a gallon for strawberries. I'm going to have to pay $25 a gallon for strawberries. When I go to the grocery store today, I'm paying a whole lot more money for beef. I'm paying a whole lot of money for all the things we're getting, and we're getting it all the way down to at the grocery store. So I told Joel I would present a bill that, like they do in electricity, that a bulk rate that we could maybe buy it on a cheaper level for them, that anybody that grows food products. I didn't just say, in commodities or things of that nature, the strawberries. We took them all in line with the poultry and beef and dairy, and so this is basically where we're wanting to go. Is anything agriculturally that's passed on to the consumer, we would like to be able to work out a way to where his bill wouldn't be so humongous. Can I let Joel share a little bit with you about what he deals with? Very intelligent farmer, very intelligent man. He's probably smarter than Paul Hornback, but I don't want to say that out loud. Go ahead.
Is that on?
Joe, welcome.
It's on.
Okay. Basically, just give you a little bit of background. I raise, like Rick says, strawberries, also raise produce. We have a lot of dairy farmers, cattle farmers. Due to certain regulations, the last few years, a lot of people that's producing food has had to rely upon municipal water on account of FSMA, which is I don't know the correct wording, but it's a new federal mandate that anybody that's growing food, you have to have your water tested or you have to use a municipal type of water that's potable on any water that touches your produce. Also, the waters of the USA Act is a lot of our farmers has had to cut the branches off where the cattle was watering, even a natural spring, and either put in some type of holding system or hook onto the water. My unique situation is I'm actually on a ridge that you might drill a well good enough to supply a house, but no way that you could water a crop with it. I don't have the ability to dump into a spring or a creek or anything like that. The amount of water that I use, I just couldn't do it. The process of building a pond, I couldn't build one big enough to take care of what I need. And like Rick said, I serve on the water board there in Western Placer County, and we received notice last year from the PSC that we was going to have to raise our rates. Our water company is a profitable water company, but due to certain regulations, and we got word the other day, it's basically going to be a little over 19% increase. And our bill's getting high enough, it's come to I've got to make the choice to either cut back or quit, I'll be honest with you. And just to give you an instance, we grow 16 acres of strawberries, and that's probably 10 to 15% of the total production in the state of Kentucky. So there'll be a lot of people mad at me if I don't have strawberries in the future. But it's affecting a lot of smaller producers, and like I say, there's a lot of the dairy farmers, beef farmers that's finishing animals out, poultry, whatnot, that's relying on the water, and it's just one way that maybe we can help all farmers out, not just me. Even if I quit today, I'd still like to see the farmers get a break on some of the input costs.
Joe, how long have you been farming strawberries?
I've been farming all my life. I've been raising produce since 2000.
We have a couple of questions from some of our members, Senator Girdler, if you would entertain those.
Yes.
Senator Wheeler, you'll go first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to say I'm very sorry that the federal government is taking these types of actions, which, I mean, it's amazing how much that the long arm of Washington has really destroyed American productivity on so many levels, be it in manufacturing industries all the way down to farming, and it's truly a shame. I guess one concern that I do have, and I'm generally supportive of the bill here, to what extent would the other ratepayers within that particular water system have to bear any increases as a result of a water board, for example, granting free water to a larger commercial operation? Because obviously, you know, the money to create this potable water has to come from somewhere, and you know, it seems like it would be kind of focused on that particular community where the water system exists, whereby, I mean, even if you had to increase costs, that might spread it out a little bit more amongst consumers as a whole.
I don't know the exact numbers on this, and I see Tom's going to be next. The thing about it is we allowed the Water Association to choose whether they want to do it free or do it reduced price. And if the Water Association is in financial trouble or financial, then we allow them not to do this.
Okay.
We're not saying you have to do this. We're saying if you have the means, that you don't have to pass that on to the free or the reduced rate to the farmer. So it's based upon their needs or what they've profit wise. Now, Joel, you may be able to answer. If not, that's no problem. The thing about what would it entail if they go up on 20% on everybody, and your state at the rate today, would the rates go up dramatically for the rest of the? For me, I'm in the Western Pulaski County Water District.
No, and like I say, I've talked to some other growers across the state, and they've asked me about it and everything. To me, it's left up according to the bill, and that's the way I asked Rick to write it. Is if the water district or the municipality is not in a financial position to do it, they don't have to, and we do not want to raise bills. I will say this: I've been on the water board for 10 years. Water is a very profitable business if you run it right, and we do not need this increase that they're making us do. Our engineer told us the other day the increase that we're going to have to put on the other everybody is going to increase our profits approximately $700,000 a year. We don't need to be making that kind of money off of but when somebody says you got to do it, you got to do it. But I would not ask you to put any municipal water in financial problems because they don't need it.
No, and I think so. Essentially, what you're saying is it's going to be a local control thing, and obviously, if the water board, which is usually controlled by the fiscal court and which is accountable to the voters, felt that this was becoming a drain or a burden to the taxpayers, they could take appropriate action.
Yeah.
One thing I'll add here real quick, Joel, since he's had this farm, his water, did you tell me, I understood that it was over $1 million since you've been doing this?
Since 2003, yeah.
$1 million. So, anyway.
Senator Wheeler, is at the end of your questions. I'm curious, when you mentioned earlier how utilities, obviously, to recruit large consumers of electricity, they've got several tools in their shed, if you will, to incentivize that, and they've got economic dollars and stuff that they can actually put in to help foster people to use their product. Is there this could be an economic development issue? I'm thinking if you've been around this long and you've got other employees, have you looked at other economic development dollars or grants to help offset what your cost may be on the utility? Does the utility board offer incentives for large consumers? Obviously, a large company or something to come into the region for economic development would be a consumer, and we'd like to have as many of those as we could. So you think there'd be something in there maybe to incentivize more people using their product? Is there any opportunities for your operation to use those or utilize those?
I haven't really looked into it, but I've not come across it, I'll put it that way. Be honest with you, there's not a lot of people that's really ready to jump into farming. And
There is in the eastern part of Pulaski County, they opened up Alp Harvest, I think. And my nephew, which is Spida, which was the previous senator, Chris Girdler, sent me a big picture of photo and they've got the building built. And so in that situation, I don't know if they worked out a deal, Water Association-wise, electricity or whatever, but it's going to have tons and tons of utilities too. So I'm assuming that, yes, they probably would jump on it in a heartbeat.
Might have something available. At this time, we have Tom Fitz. He's going to be joining us via, I guess, a Zoom link. So I'll turn it over to you, Tom, if you can hear us.
I sure can. Senator, can you hear me okay?
Got you. Loud and clear.
Great. Well, good morning. Committee members, Tom Fitzgerald, former director of the Kentucky Resources Council. Now I am merely senior staff and on the way out the door. First, I want to thank Senator Girdler for taking time yesterday. We had I think a very good conversation. I really appreciated him explaining the genesis of the bill and the concerns. And I am not unsympathetic because as you know, members of the committee, a lot of the folks that we work with at the council are folks on fixed incomes or folks with low incomes who are facing, in a smaller sense, the same issues that Senator Girdler's constituent is facing regarding rising water bills. And I am not unsympathetic at all with the fact that it is putting a particular strain on those who are using a lot of water in the ag sector and elsewhere. I'm appreciative also that the bill is not mandatory, but I feel that there will be, if it is possible, to provide free and reduced rates preferentially to this sector in a bill that historically this part of the law has always been limited to firefighting and to nonprofits, that there's going to be folks lining up to want to get similar breaks for their sectors, whether it be a commercial or industrial sector. My concern, and we had talked about this yesterday in my conversation with Senator Girdler, the cost of providing the utility service is spread among the ratepayers, and there are certain revenue requirements that the utilities have. It is true that the Public Service Commission, because they believe that a number of water utilities, and Pulaski water districts may not be among them, have not been maintaining rates that are necessary historically to meet the infrastructure needs, the operation and maintenance needs of the systems. We have situations like Martin County, which is certainly one of the extreme situations. But the PSC is requiring that the rates be raised in order to cover those costs. And that is having a big pinch on the number of customers of the utilities that are affected. My concern is with providing preferential free or reduced rates, that those revenue costs and those revenue needs will be met somewhere. And invariably, they will be shifted to other ratepayers at a time when their costs are increasing, even though per capita use in many cases is declining, because those system costs have to be met. And while I would fully support economic development measures that would help to provide either no interest loans or ought to spend down some of the impacts on the ag sector, because there is no sector that is more critical to the health of this Commonwealth. I am concerned that the shift of costs to this a pool of ratepayers, rather than including the costs into the product and having it spread among a larger consuming public, will be an adverse effect on those other ratepayers. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's the main concern. It's not that I don't think there's merit to recognizing the concerns of the impact of rising water bills on this sector, but it is a pain that all of the sectors and residential customers are suffering. And invariably, if a district or an association or a water utility were to adopt free or reduced rates, those costs would be shifted to the other ratepayers.
Tom,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. There's also, another side to this as well, and it's the same thing Energy sees as businesses close up and move out of a region, which you saw in the coal fields. As those businesses closed and those coal mines closed, and that consumption of power is dumped back on the market, that also increases people's rates. And what I'm saying is, if your business decided to move to another location where the rate was more profitable, and you packed up and moved out of this county or district to another area, then that's also going to be a lot of gallons that would have normally been covered by that will now be displaced and have to be wound back into the program. And that could also cost taxpayers additional money now to pick up the loss of you leaving. So this thing kind of goes both ways. We've seen what happens when you have the wind down and have a lot of companies close and leave. What's happened in the economy with that surplus power, it gets pushed over to the consumer. So I'd much rather have the problem where they're growing, in your case, where you're wanting to expand. And my guess is if you were able to get a better rate, you're probably going to put more strawberries down, would be my guess. Or it could be something that could be utilized for this region. Could become the strawberry destination of Kentucky. You could have a lot of strawberry farmers over there in Senator Girdler's district. So I think we have to take it into consideration that it could affect the ratepayers either way. I'd rather bet on you succeeding and growing and maybe creating an economic empowerment zone over there where you've got a lot of people wanting to farm in that region because of economic opportunities that make it competitive. So do we have any further members that have Senator Matt Caslin, and he also has a very special guest, so I'd like for you to introduce this handsome young fellow you have with you.
Well, I do have a special guest with me today. My son, Abram Caslin, is up with us, and agriculture is near and dear to our heart because we both live on a farm. I want to just bring a little bit of attention to this because sometimes we get stuck on the word free pretty easy, and that is already in the existing language. And so when it talks about free or reduced rate services, and we bounce over here and we look at the agriculture sector that we're adding this to, anybody that's been on a farm or around a farm right now knows the cost almost outweigh the profit in every type of commodity or livestock that's being produced across this country right now. And what makes the United States the strongest nation in the world is the fact we have the most abundant food supply. And when we look at Kentucky, sometimes farmers don't get the attention that they deserve because they come to committees like this as an individual, not as a big organization, not as a group of people that's coming to create economic development. But when you put all of them together, it's some of the largest economy in the state of Kentucky. And so, we're not saying that it's going to be free water for the production of these things. It could even be a reduced rate. But if you look at the amount of volume that this one particular farm is using, as a business guy, we always give customers a better rate when they're using more volume because your profit goes up when people are using more with one single customer. And so I think the utility commissions have the ability to negotiate this and work it out in this particular matter, and I support it for that reason. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Caslin. We have Senator Webb has a question.
Well, mostly comments. I've done a lot of work on water issues during my tenure here as a former natural resource prosecutor, and water is our most valuable resource. Senator Wheeler and I served on a task force we created about water and water districts, a lot of those struggling with the focus on Martin County and others that have had an exodus of service payees and failing infrastructure, and how to best accommodate and remedy those that are already in failure and to prevent failures. And like you stated earlier, management is very important, and try to craft something to maybe the state is somewhat responsible for failure to manage the management, and try to address those issues. I look at this bill and I feel the pain in agriculture with Senator Caslin said, fertilizer rates, all these other rates, federal impacts and global impacts that we can't control. And it's important to make this part of a balanced approach to how we deal with agriculture and our water resources, and protect particularly the small producers, and encourage those small producers and young farmers that, like you said, it's hard to get into agriculture and farming now on any level, whether it's a food or crop or animal or crop. I would like to explore this issue further, and I do understand that it is not mandated. However, I'm sitting here thinking about the Tysons in the world and in our situation as beef cattle producers now, where the money's going as far as profits, and how to avoid more major corporate grab in this, and because they're the ones that yield the political pressure and have political power, and sometimes drive policy that's not always good for our small and medium producers. There's a lot of layers of policy in this thing to me, on issues that I care deeply about. So I'd like to look at it further and make the bill maybe better, and add protections to keep abuse, because this could be ripe for abuse with the proper water board and major corporate entity. And I would like to protect our smaller farmers and producers in that regard. And I think this bill has some potential for abuse. So I have a few concerns, even though it's well taken. Thank you all.
Very good. And our last question as we move forward will be Senator Southwood.
Thank you. I likewise might not have entirely a question. It's a couple of thoughts, and I want them to be addressed, but I don't know if you have answers right now. One of them is where we can the current list of people that we can give free reduced rates to, and I understand the conversation we're having right now today about strawberries, but I feel like there are a number of other things that you could sit here and say, well, this is also affects our daily livelihoods. This is also an economic development issue. This is also, and I'm thinking it just really kind of looks a little too specific on what we're allowing the water companies if we're all about local control. But we're not really about local control because we're trying to make sure that nobody gets outside the lines and we set those as a state. And so that goes to my second comment, which is in section 2, where an entity receiving public funds from the Commonwealth or any political subdivision for the purpose of offsetting at least 50% of its operational expenses doesn't get these special rates unless they're in one of these groups here, which includes this group here. So to Senator Webb's point, I don't see anything in here that's actually protecting our small independent producers. I see nothing. I see only if you hit this category, and then even if you're getting 50% of your operational expenses subsidized, you still qualify. And I think you're hitting the taxpayers twice at that point. One at the local ratepayers at the water group, and the other, the Commonwealth level or city or county or whatever they're doing. So I would like to see a little bit more, if we're going to be about small farmers, then let's say that, instead of having it loop every possible person in here. And if we're about small business, that's not necessarily just farmers, then let's say that. I'm not sure exactly what we're trying to say here, but I think everybody's on the same page. The idea of helping make these things work, but I think the language doesn't get there. Thank you.
And Senator Schickel, please. We have a motion on the bill. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. At this time, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin, Senator Embry, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Schickel, Senator Southworth,
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Please go ahead.
I'm going to vote no right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing if we can't get some of these things straightened up. We can change that sometime in the future. Thank you.
Senator Turner,
Please explain it.
I'm going to vote yes, and I appreciate the senator bringing this. I think if you look at subsection 2, as the other senator referred to, we give free or reduced rates to a number of people, including the United States and charitable and other things. And I think the first language it says upon obtaining commission approval is the very protection that's needed in this, like all of them are, and giving it to the local people to determine, Pulaski County specifically, to determine its own water rates, and those people are accountable. And it's independent, that it doesn't apply to any other group that doesn't want to do it. It's just who wants to choose to do this for the benefit of their community. And I think it's a good bill, and that's the reason I'm going to vote yes on it.
Senator Webb,
I'm going to explain my I vote. I like talking about water, and I like talking about agriculture. I think I like having the discussion, and I like to keep it going. So I'm going to vote aye.
Senator Westerfield, Senator Wheeler,
Mr. Chairman, explain my aye vote.
Please do.
I do want to move this along, and I absolutely help our small producers out, like the gentleman you have there with you. I do share some of Senator Webb's concerns about the Tysons, major conglomerate producers, potentially taking advantage of this. I would like to see it maybe tightened up a little bit before we take a final vote through a floor amendment or something. Maybe put a limit if they have a, adjusted gross income of, less than a certain amount of money, so that we don't give huge breaks to these massive corporations. But I like the concept. I'm all about helping our small farmers, and so I am going to vote aye to get it out of committee.
Chair Smith.
Yes, I'm going to explain my vote. I vote aye as well. I think that Kentucky's produce is the best, and we need to know that that when you need help, that you can come to the state and have somebody that's going to hear what you have to say. Now, the way the bill's written right now for Senator Gertler does not guarantee, as you know, Joel, when you go back to that water board, they're going to do anything for you. It's permissive. It means that they can if it stays the way it is. I think there's some changes that can be made in it, and Senator Gertler's been very open to that, where you might be able to put a cap on this not to exceed a certain amount. That way they have better control of it. So I vote aye, and it looks like the bill passes and is approved favorable. So this will probably move on, and I expect there'll probably be some work that'll be happening with it in the meantime. You have any other comments, Senator Gertler?
No, I'm willing to work even with Senator Webb or Senator Wheeler or anybody to make the bill better. But the main object, the main reason we have this bill, we can't keep going to the grocery store and paying 20 and 30 and 40% more. And like Tom and I talked yesterday, they're going to pay for it one way or another. And so therefore, if we can, and I didn't realize this, his water district, my water district that I live in, is very profitable. So at the point, if we're going to take care of our people, let's do it. I'm willing to tighten it up and keep the big corporations out. That's fine. But it's the main thing is for these small farmers. And my area is farm. So, thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, at this time, I'd like to ask Senator Hornback to come up to the table. And any guests that you have to come with you, Senator Hornback, they're welcome to come to the table. And as you know, just have everybody identify themselves for our records, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us here today, and I'll start with Mr. Bryant.
Yes, sir. I'm Alan Bryan from Henry County, and I'm the Vice President of the Kentucky Association of Conservation Districts.
My name is Shane Wells. I'm from Butler County, and I'm president of the Kentucky Association of Conservation Districts and a farmer.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, it's making a difference which bill we start on. Do you have a preference? Okay, we'll just go to Senate Bill 54 first. And Senate Bill 54 talks about the Kentucky Association of Conservation Districts. And all this bill does, and I do have an amendment coming to it, but all this bill does is set a minimum age for being able to file and run for that board. I will say that it sets that age at 21. Right now, there is no age. I will tell everybody that there is a person from Scott County. Is that right, Shane? Yes, we have a young gentleman from Scott County who is 17 years old. In my amendments, it will just clarify that this in no way, since he was elected to that board, this will in no way take him off that board. But that from here forward, from the enactment of this bill forward, you would have to be 21 to file and run for this board. Now, I do think, and I don't know this for sure, just so we have full disclosure, this gentleman is now 17. I think has served on the board for a year. So more than likely, when his 4-year term is done, he will still only be 20 years old. And I know the senator from Scott had some concerns about this. We've addressed his concerns. And I don't know if Alan or Shane, you all want to add anything to it?
I would just say that KACD is a grassroots organization, and this came to our attention as a resolution from one of our counties, and we brought it forward, and Senator Hornback has been working with us to move this forward.
But they do handle public funds, Mr. Chairman, so that's one of the main reasons for a minimum age is because they do handle public funds and dispense public funds to our farmers.
Senator Hornback, you have a sub. Do you want to take action on the sub?
Yes, I do have a sub.
Do you want to go ahead and adopt that, do a committee
Yes.
substitute? Motion second. All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Carry on.
Thank you. And all the sub does is just clarify in two different places. It does it on page 2, at the bottom of page 2, and then again on the bottom of page 4, just clarifies that this in no way makes this gentleman ineligible to completely serve his 4-year term. And that's all it does.
All right, very good. We have a question from Senator Webb.
Thanks, Senator Hornbeck. It's striking language about principal offices and districts? Does that have any impact on
No, I mean, Shane,
page 1, line 14? So supervisors of the soil and water conservation districts that have their principal offices therein. Okay,
Yeah, that's on a different point. That has to do with how we appoint candidates for the Soil and Water Commission. Previously, at our area, KACD area meetings, we have taken nominations from the floor for nominees for the Soil and Water Commission, and then submit those to the cabinet and the governor, and they select who serves on that board. What we ran into during COVID was a determination that we had to have a quorum consisted of over 50% of the soil conservation supervisors in that area physically at that meeting or on a Zoom meeting. That becomes very difficult to do. KACD's constitution says that an area meeting, a quorum is established by those present. So what we're proposing there is that we change it to allow KACD to nominate candidates to the Soil and Water Commission using their bylaws, and then they submit those to the governor and the cabinet for selection. It's really a minor change. We basically, essentially, would continue to do things the way we've always done them.
so it's an adaptation that COVID brought to light
Yes,
to allow
ma'am.
you to conduct business in case something would arise similarly.
Yes,
because you didn't have enough members present.
Okay, thank you.
Motion on the bill.
We
Second.
have a motion and a second. This time I'll ask the clerk to call roll.
Senator Carpenter. Senator Caslin. Senator Embry.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator Schickel. Senator Southworth.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Please explain.
I'm gonna vote aye. I actually I thought I was in line for a question, but I will check with the sponsor later, but I will vote aye for it now.
She voted aye.
Senator Turner. Senator Webb. Senator Westerfield. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
I vote aye. Got a quorum, so it's approved favorable. Your bill has passed. Now, do you want to move on to 53 at this time?
Senate Bill 53. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. Senate Bill 53 comes up over an issue that came up with the conservation districts, and as most of you all are out representing rural areas of the state. And one thing conservation districts have always done is trying to help out the smaller farmers, the young farmers. And one way we do that is through a lot of shared use type of equipment. And I'm sure a lot of you all have taken part in those programs. It's a program that's been in place, I think, Alan, since 1948. Yes. Is that correct? And we've been doing it pretty much the same way since 1948. It's worked very good all those years. Finance Cabinet last year, and not to say that finance was wrong, but their interpretation was a little bit different, and that we were not doing things according to statute, Mr. Chairman. So some changes need to be made, or the program would have to come to an end. And so that's what we have done in this. I'm going to turn it over to Shane to explain how that program works, how the lease program works, how the shared use of program works, and let him explain that and some of the changes that we've made, so that you can get a better understanding in it. And then Mr. Bryant, or you all have some questions, we'll go through that.
The equipment revolving loan began in 1948, and the reason really for that to take place was as conservation districts were formed and they started doing conservation work in rural Kentucky, they discovered that they didn't have the equipment, the necessary equipment to do a lot of those projects, waterways, build ponds, what have you. So the initial appropriation was in 1948. The General Assembly has appropriated about $1.85 million to that fund. It's been a very successful program. over its 60-year life, we've loaned about $62 million to about 2,000 different individuals. And we've had a loss over the 60 years of $56,000. So that's we're very proud of the way this program has been run. There has been sweeps of the money. We have paid back about $4 million out of that fund over the years. And the way it works is a conservation district actually takes the loan from the commission. If they so choose, they can lease that piece of equipment to a operator and lease it to them. Once the equipment is paid off, it's up to the district. They can amortize it out and then give that piece of equipment to that leasee if that's their agreement. The reason for needing an operator is a lot of this equipment is specialized. You can't just rent it out to anybody. We have tiling machines that have a lot of GPS equipment on them, and it takes specialized training. If you're building waterways, you need a dozer operator that's been trained and knows how to use that equipment. And for some reason, they did decide that we didn't need to be making loans to contractors, and we wanted to get that fixed because it's been a very successful program over the years. Now, I'll
Motion
just
on the
let you
bill.
add.
We have a motion and a second on the bill. Do we have any questions? Make sure we got everybody. Senator Webb.
Is there a document that has listed those agreements somewhere, where they are and who they're with?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that available on the internet, or is that available on
I
request?
actually think, Alan, we've got one of those, don't we?
Do you have one with you?
Yes. Soil and Water Commission, they track the revolving loan fund, and there's a list of what loans are out there.
I'd like to
How
have
much
one, as usual. I'm always looking out to see if my region has parity in these programs, and if there's a problem with either the number of applications or the allowance for those applications. So I'd just like to have that information. I love the program. I think it's great, and I've always supported it, and I don't funds. I'll just put that on the record too. So, but I would like to have more information on that.
And we'll get that to you,
Thank you.
Senator Webb. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I think, if anything, your district is probably overly represented.
Oh, now, come on, Paul.
Senator, if I could, I'd just add, those loans are available to anybody in the state of Kentucky, and we'd encourage anybody in any area to come forward with projects.
I just like to talk about it. A lot of people don't know about it. So it is a good program, and it serves a valuable need. And this committee, as well as A&R, needs to hear, of the success of that program. It's been a very well managed program. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Senator Turner's got to leave, so at this time, I'm going to let him go ahead and cast his vote and explain it. In the roll call, we're calling roll call. We're just going to let Senator Turner go first. All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I already said roll call. Yeah.
Or Senator Carpenter? Senator Caslin? Senator Embry? Senator Harper Angel? Senator Schickel? Senator Southworth?
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please vote and explain it.
I vote aye, and I would like to thank the sponsor for bringing this. I also want to register with the sponsor that this committee needs to be doing this for a number of other groups that have other equipment, because I have a constituent that if we could get the tree cutting equipment shared between the state and the local and all this, I would probably not be able to get him to quit hugging me. So please consider replicating this in other places. Thank you.
Senator Webb? Senator Westerfield? Senator Wheeler?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Oh, what yeah, looks like it's unanimous. Your bill passes. We appreciate you all coming in front of our committee. At this time, as we wrap up, do we have any other members that have anything that need to be brought before our committee at this time? Seeing none, I need a motion for adjournment. Motion second. All those in favor, the sign of aye.
Don't forget your phone there, Senator. Is that yours?
Hey, you got that list?
Yes, I do. Holmes.
It's not my fault.
Selfish in my
Look at this. Look at this.
I need
You'll
work
like
Let me
it. You'll
erase
like
this.
We'll
I
get,
need
we'll
work.
get it for you, but look at it.
Well, I need some good news in my life.
Yeah.
But you'll like this.
Soil and Water Commission gives you the balance up
We've
front,
got good
but here's a listing of the counties, district, which ones are contractors, which ones are solely owned.
Harder. Yeah, we got a sprayer.
To where it's supposed to go to. What
Yeah,
happens
it
if
is.
I mean,
Don't
that's
have
the
Mason
sewer.
anymore.
The sewer
Don't
system.
have
And not
Robertson
necessarily
anymore.
gravity. And they've got a lot of small.
So could we get county based equipment? How would that
This
benefit?
program helps us. It does help small farmers. And we'll get you a list.
Or you can just take that one if you'd like, or
Are you
just,
sure?
that's fine, yes,
Or
absolutely.
just
No,
send
no,
it
no,
to
it's
me.
okay, just,
I need work done on my.
well, this'll help tremendously, because in my county, there's fewer and fewer people that do it. And usually those are small little practices, and, you know, to get a pipeline and tank putting,